like this little flow in there. It's just beautiful. All right, well, today we're going to talk about courage to follow guidance. Now, we know that we can move through life thinking we are following our life plan, like God has created this plan for us and we are following it. And we might think that God is going to tell us exactly what to do from moment to moment. And then again, we could all be living in our own little world doing whatever it is that we want to do whenever we want to do it. And we can always go to that place of experiencing life to the fullest, which is again following that guidance. But two things happened that directed me to write this message, and one of them was reading the Daily Word for my birthday, because whenever that Daily Word comes out for that month, I always read it ahead of time just to see what it has to say. And the other thing was that that led me to this was a week before last, Dr. Barber took me by the hand and took me outside and showed me this little flower growing out of the crack of the building out front here. And what was really kind of unique about it was that there was this little tiny ladybug crawling on the flower. And she goes to me, she says, "Hey, this looks like a message here." And I said, "Yeah, it does." And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but this week we're going to look at how guidance shows up in our lives and how we choose whether or not we're going to follow guidance or not. But first we're going to begin with our statements of truth together. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am accepting my good now. Well, I have to tell you a little bit more about that flower. I'm going to go back to the flower for a minute. Whoops, one too many. What happened was, a couple of weeks before that, 2 weeks ago, I was changing the bulletin board out there, because it's right out there on the other side of the wall there. And I looked down and I saw the flower, and I thought, oh my gosh, this flower is growing out of the crack. I know that's a message there. But then what happened was, after that, I think my subconsciousness said, oh, you're the only one that thinks it's a cool thing. Nobody else is going to think it. You start doubting yourself. And sometimes it takes that prompting by another person to actually make you think about, what you're receiving here, this gift that you're receiving, this guidance that is there right in front of your face. And, after I looked at that and changed that flyer out on the bulletin board, I really didn't go out there and look at it again until Dr. Barber told me to come here, and she showed it to me, and I said, oh my God, it's still growing. But what was unique about it, two things, it was on bloom number 2. So this is bloom number 2 off of it. And you can see the little stem right there, because I deadheaded the little dead one over here that was growing. But that ladybug being on there too was just so amazing. I said, oh my gosh, I do need to pay attention to this. But Dr. Barber prompting me really took me into this place where I thought this is a message for me. So the first thing I did was think about what was holding me back from that. Why did I go to that place in the first place of not wanting to write that message about that flower growing out of the crack? And I thought, well, maybe it was fear. Fear that somebody else wouldn't think it was significant. People are going to say, oh yeah, big deal, flowers growing out of the crack. Or, maybe it was just that I thought, who else is going to want to hear about a flower growing out of the crack? But the thing was, yeah, you held your hand, Mason. You're on my team. Anyway, but you know what? It doesn't matter about what anybody else thinks, does it? Because guidance isn't about what everybody else thinks. It's all about what you think and what you're getting. And the courage to follow that guidance is there within us because it is for us. It's not for anybody else. But I'm sharing this message with you today because it's a powerful one. So the idea of that ladybug popping up really gave me some thought, and I went and looked up ladybugs. And this is what it said. Ladybugs relate to religion and churches. If you see them, some form of daily meditation or prayer is recommended. Laugh, yes. There's a lot of ahas and fun points in this message today, I'll tell you what. And so I'm sitting here thinking, metaphysically, churches means us, okay? It means us within the church. It doesn't mean the building. So, I'm looking at this going, oh my gosh, well, hello. We probably probably do need these kind of reminders every once in a while, something unusual going out of the crack to remind us that we need to be thinking about praying and meditating every single day. That, you know, I mean, we go through life and we might even go a couple of days, we might even go a week from Sunday to Sunday without praying and meditating. And we do need those daily reminders. We do need to prompt ourselves with that guidance that we know, to where we get to the point where every thought is a prayer, where we are always praying. That's where we need to get to. Well, next, the thing that they said about the ladybug was this tiny little beetle brings with it a powerful message. You know, even Dr. Barber had to take me by the hand to try to get me to understand that it is a powerful message. Because of the life cycle of the adult ladybug is short, it teaches us how to release worries and enjoy our lives to the fullest. When it appears in our life, it is telling us to let go and let God.
Yeah.
What'd you say? How many people need that in their lives? Let go and let God. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, we are there all the time doing that. And if we even just take a piece of that letting go and letting God, our lives change. How many times, though, do we hang on to that fear and that idea of lack, and we just stay stagnant? We just don't even get into the flow of that growth and that energy that is there in front of us. How many days and hours and minutes do we waste worrying over things that we have no control over? Lots of time is wasted, isn't it? Let alone what it does to your body. When we can let go and let God, we are saying yes to the good, and we are saying yes to God, aren't we? So my question for you is, can we at least admit that we need to commit some time to letting go and letting God?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. This is good. So here we go with some more about the ladybug. The shell on its back protects it from predators. Its wings fold over against the body, serving to protect its soft underside. Ladybugs have sharp instincts and feel vibrations through their legs. This allows them to sense energy of whatever they touch and is another form of protection. In spite of the ladybug's size, it appears to be fearless. Yeah. So who would have thought that that little ladybug would have such sharp instincts? That the ladybug is fearless. I have never heard this before. Anybody else ever hear this about the ladybug before? And for our message today, for the idea that we have to have that courage to follow the guidance, we have to be fearless. Can we ask ourselves this question? Do we feel like we have sharp instincts? No? Yes? Maybe? Some of you might say yes. I'll say yes, I do. I thought I had sharp instincts. And those instincts is what can help us guide us to following God's guidance if we are attuned to what our bodies are feeling. The ladybug feels it through its legs. We hug each other in this room, and we hug each other freely, and we are feeling that God energy through our vibrations. And that's our natural instincts coming forth through us. We feel safe. We feel okay with each other. And that's what we have to take with us outside this room. We have to take those natural instincts that come through us in those situations. But what happens, what shifts and changes in our minds to the place where we are not being aligned with God, where we're not using those instincts, where we're not following that guidance? You know, I think what happens is that we get this instinct, we get this idea that our own thoughts are our instincts, instead of the instincts being the instincts. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We get kind of egotistical about the whole thing. We think, oh, this thought I'm having has to be an instinct. It has to be from God, because this is what I want it to be in this moment. I want it to be this way, and by golly, it's going to be that way. That's no longer an instinct, is it? That's no longer guidance. No, that's our own determination of what we think we want in our life and how we think it should be. We're truly not letting go and letting God. We're truly not being in that mindfulness of prayer and meditation, because it wouldn't come forth from those places. It only comes forth from that egotistical ego trying to tell you that your thought is an instinct. And we get in that place sometimes in life, don't we? where we think, oh, this happened, so this must be this way because it happened. No. But when we get that strong feeling, that gut feeling, that we know something is so, when we really truly have that knowing that we know that this is what is happening and this is the guidance we are receiving, that's when we're aligned with God. That is when our instincts are telling us to follow that guidance. That's when we are fearless. And why is it so? It's because it is God's guidance directing us to follow the feeling. It is God within us saying, this is what you need in your life. This is how you should be thinking. This is what I want to give to you because it's all good. And it does happen, just like the ladybug protecting itself with its wings, protecting those tender places. God is here to protect our tender places. God is here to help us feel the vibrations, let go and let God. Feel that true sense of that energy of God and know that the guidance is coming forth through us to guide us to that highest good. That's a whole different thing. And you know what? When we have that feeling and when we know that energy, guess what? We are fearless, just like that ladybug, aren't we? We can go forth and know. That's why we put the for sale signs on the building. Yes, because we know. We're fearless about that. You feel that energy, you feel that guidance. You know each step is taking us to that next place that we need to be. A little bit more about the ladybug. Seen often as a messenger of promise, the ladybug reconnects us with the joy of living. Fear and joy cannot coexist. Don't you love that? Fear and joy cannot coexist. We need to release our fears and return to love. This is one of the messages that the ladybug brings to us. That ladybug's powerful. I'm telling you that right now. And all of this could seem like it's random. All of it could just, to somebody they might just say, oh, how did you pull all this together? But it's all there. It was all there the minute I let go and followed the guidance. Dr. Barber prompting me to follow that guidance. The guidance was there 4 weeks ago. And it took me 2 weeks ago to really pay attention and to research this and figure out some more. But we know that when we include prayer and meditation daily, when we can let go and let God, we release our fears and we reconnect to love and the joy of living. And who doesn't want more of that in their life? Yes. And it sounds great knowing that fear and joy can't be in the same existence, that they can't coexist. But about now you might be asking yourself, well, how do we do this? How do we continue to go forth after this moment of this message and keep that in our lives? How do we continue to know that it's guidance? How do we continue to be fearless? Well, sometimes we know things are so, but it might not be that easy for us to implement in our lives. But all of these little reminders can be. And if you were here that week that Dr. Barber pointed that flower out to me, I talked about the idea of changing, of creating change in your life, and knowing that in any minute you can change your thoughts to align with God's thoughts. And when we do that, we open up this portal within ourselves to be able to read and feel that guidance that we receive. Now, I have to tell you about the Daily Word because I knew the title for this message before I read the Daily Word. Because after Dr. Barber left, I thought, I'm going to have courage to follow guidance. Because when it's there in front of me, I'm going to have the courage to follow it. And then I went and read the Daily Word for February, for my birthday, and it said, guidance. And the very first line of the Daily Word said, it takes courage to follow the guidance of Spirit when I'm not sure of the path ahead. Yet life evolves by taking risks. Hello. I was like, okay, God, I'm listening now. It's there in the front of my face, reflecting back to me what I already knew and what I already was receiving. And yet, the affirmation that was there in reading that Daily Word was huge. And sometimes we need that, don't we? So there's another tool for us to use. Open the Daily Word and read whatever page you open to and see if that speaks to you that particular day. Go to prayer and meditation. See what's speaking to you that day. All of those are tools that we can use every nanosecond of the day to help us. So what kind of risk are you willing to take? Are you willing to be fearless? Are you willing to take risks and see what evolves for you? And it does take courage. I know this. And as a parent, how many are parents in here? We experience this over and over again, don't we? Yeah. Because we have to discern what to say to our children that ends up being a healthy conversation. We want their highest good, and we want to see them seek their highest good. And yet sometimes when we go to talk to them, it doesn't come out that way, does it? No. Sometimes when, I know for me, when I've talked to my kids, I sit there and I say something, I'm thinking, they're not getting it. They're just think I'm the mom, just mama, blah, 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 nothing. And that isn't how I mean it. And that feeling in your heart is like painful because you see their highest good. You see the potential in them and you want that for them. And yet they just think you're off the wall. And then, what happens for me is that I realize that I have to just speak up. I have to speak my truth. I have to speak what is on my heart, or else I feel miserable. And in that moment, I'm taking the risk in our relationship, aren't I? And sometimes we do that even with our friends or another family member. But as a parent, I know that sometimes I've come across angry, or I've let them know how disappointed I am in them, or I come across totally arrogant. And I know in that moment that's my ego speaking. That's not that Christ within me that's seeing their highest good. It's my ego. I'm going to that place of fear, and I'm going to that place of lack, and I'm going to that place that's not healthy for any of us. And I don't like it, and I know that. But then, when you stop and you say that prayer, whatever it is, that Christ within, or breathe, or God is, it switches everything. And I know in that moment that I can let go and let God up and let go of anything else that I've said that might not have been the best thing or for the highest good or that came across angry. I can let go of it and I can move forward with courage, knowing that God's guidance is going to help me in this situation. Whatever it is of talking to my children, whatever words of encouragement I need to speak to them, and that they are going to hear it, and they might not hear it in that moment, and that's okay too. But I know that if I turn within and follow the guidance of God, that I am going to be speaking those words that are going to lead them to their highest good. And in that idea, I have to see the God within them. I have to see that Christ in the midst of them. And then I have to send love. I have to just send love and know and let go, totally let go, and know that my prayers and the prayers of everybody else that prays for them is going to make a difference in their lives, and that they are going to open up to that Christ within themselves and feel that guidance for themselves. And that's when it all switches for them. But it's not up to me. It's their guidance. My guidance is my guidance, to follow that best and behold the Christ in them and keep coming from that place as many times as it takes. Now we have to have that same kind of courage within ourselves too. You see, sometimes we don't have that feeling of courage or encouragement for something that we're doing. Perhaps you're secretly writing a book, or you're creating this new project, or someone has given you this fantastic gift that you just want to go out and tell the whole world about. But what do? You let fear get in the way, and you don't take the courage to step forth and say, hey, we are here to support each other. So we should be able to step out and say, hey, I'm working on a book. Will you hold me in prayer? Or you might say, I'm working on this special project and I really could use some prayer support. Or you might even say, hey, Reverend Warren just got me this really great gift and I want to share it with you. I mean, it was so awesome. Not really, but hey, we can drink it. Just easy. But whatever it is that we have going on in our lives, we should feel the courage and fear nothing to be able to share it with each other and ask for prayer support, ask for help, ask if you're stuck at home with the flu and you need some orange juice, you should be able to call one of us and say, hey, I am stuck home with the flu and there's nobody that can bring me some orange juice. Would you bring me some orange juice? It doesn't matter what it is. We need to be able to step out with the courage, without fear, to be able to speak what it is that we need or what we want help with or support with. Because this is a spiritual journey we're all on. And how many people are afraid of growing spiritually and being on this spiritual journey? I hope no one. So if you're not afraid of going on your spiritual journey, you shouldn't be afraid to share what is going on in your life. And we should celebrate with each other. And when we do that, what we're doing is we are speaking these truths that align with the truth that is in everyone. I don't care if you're Baptist, you're Jewish, whatever you are, those truths are going to come through. Just like seeing that flower out there. The truth of the beauty of that flower is there. And that truth that is within each of us is there to be shown and to be shared and for us to glorify within each other. And we can do that. And we can encourage each other to be on this journey together. From the Bible it says, we can throw this one in. Is it easy to do this? Everybody together. Yes, when we align with God. That's right. And from Joshua 1:9 it says, I hereby command you, be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And then I'm going to go back to the daily word one more time, because you will not believe this one. And I'm not kidding you. This was in the middle of the daily word. A seedling must break through the ground to reach the sun. That flower is growing on the north side of the building, in between a crack, with apparently no grass or dirt or whatever it looks like, but hey, it's growing. And it may look like it's struggling to reach the sun. It may look like it's struggling to even exist, and yet it does. It has all the strength that God has given it. It has all that it needs in that crack. And can we say the same thing about ourselves? Yeah. We are here to break through any kind of barriers, any kind of struggles, and reach for the light of God in our lives. And if this is not the message that this poor little flower is showing to us, then my God, we just need to give up, I guess. I don't know. But it is powerful. It is powerful. And if we struggle, all we have to do is think about some example like this little flower reaching up, reaping the benefits of the ladybug growing on it. It's bloomed twice. It's still growing out there. You're all going to have to take a little tour out there. But what was really kind of neat about this whole idea is that Carmen, raise your hand, Carmen, and wave, told us that corner of the building is the prosperity corner. So think about this, that new growth coming out of the corner of the building that is the prosperity corner. What is that saying to us with the idea of us growing and being in a new building? I mean, we should all be saying, amen, yeah, isn't this great? Because this aligns with all that we are working for and working towards, and it's an amazing thing. And again, the guidance is there. It is God in the midst of us showing us what we need and where we are going. I know the time has gone by today, and I'm almost there, so hang with me. But Myrtle Fillmore, I love Myrtle, and she gives us this in her letters of Myrtle Fillmore, the text. As we pray, the word life is going down into us, breaking up old fixed beliefs and reorganizing our life. The word of life as God has it planned it, is taking hold of our subconsciousness, and we know that we are free and will begin to use our freedom. Working in the consciousness of freedom, we will be happy and well and busy and prosperous. But our attention will be upon what we are doing rather than upon outer results. The results will take care of themselves once we have started our foundation in truth. That means no more worrying, no more stressing, walking out with courage, walking forth without fear, because you can't have fear in that situation. And we do this all through the idea of prayer and meditation. We do this as we align with that truth that we are one with God. Then we can affirm together. Let's do it. I fearlessly follow the guidance of Spirit. And Myrtle says this: the moment a person yields himself to Godlikeness, when we get the ego out of the way, we are letting the Spirit of God burst the shell of doubt and fear, and the light of faith reveals to him the light of life. We become conscious of the joy of life in ourselves and in everyone else. And isn't that what we were talking about? Sharing with each other all the things that we desire prayer requests for. Sharing our celebrations. Sharing the good that happens. And I'm waiting for that present from Warren to share with you. And that's when the joy swells up in our souls and we truly flourish, don't we? Yielding self means giving up the old concepts of the past, forgetting ourselves and our human desire to come forth, and just rejoicing that all God's creation does constantly spring forth in newness of life, light, joy, and service. Just like that little flower out there. We can spring forth in light, in love, I'm adding one, life, and in joy and of service. Don't we want that? Yes. And we do it when we forget our own desires and really devote ourselves to doing what God would have done, this moment and constantly. We shall find that there is no limit whatsoever to the strength we have and the things that we can do. We have yielded ourselves to the source, it should be capital S, and entered into a oneness that in itself makes us receptive to all that the source is and holds. It's in that oneness that we experience all that God is. And we can experience through each other. We can know it for each other. We can hold it for each other. And when we do that, the good comes forth. And we're seeing it in this congregation. Through results of health, through results of employment, through results of good relationships, through results of just building the consciousness of each other and moving into a bigger space. We're doing it. And we can continue to do it when we let go and let God. When we pray and meditate and truly align our thoughts with God, with that truth that is within us. We can pay attention to the signs that are all around us. Can't we? Just like that little white flower in the crack. And by the way, one more little message from that flower. The color white represents confidence, purity, and poise. So I invite you to turn within to your courage, to your confidence, to your purity and poise, and just behold that for yourself. When we align with God, we let go of fear, and we definitely find all the courage we need to follow guidance. Thank you for being here today. God bless you.